And you wouldn't like that, would you? Ha ha!
Now we're recording. All right. You'll probably have to accept the recording.
Done.
You good? All right, cool. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back with episode 2 of the Kettle Podcast. I am fucking Foxhound as usual. I have with me today the world fucking champion, Mr. Marvelous Nick Merchant. I don't know, those of you who watched Nick's episode in season 1 might remember him, but I'm having him back here today. He had to keep himself relevant. This fucking guy was like, oh, he's going to make another season. I better do something important. There's a reason to talk to me again. Well, Nick just took a trip to the Philippines a couple weeks ago and competed in the WCAF International Tournament and fucking won it. So I was like, hey, man, you want to come back on the show and talk about your experience and, you know, why you did it, what led up to it, and sort of, you know, where that trip took him. And so here he is. Nick, say hi to everybody.
What's up, everybody? Fox, thanks for having me on again, man. I'm honored, especially because you're an integral part to this story. So, you know, I appreciate
responsibility for nothing.
I don't know, man. That last match.
Okay.
But I just want to say, first of all, you know, thank you for everybody that worked with me through this from day one, particularly Jeff Finder, Grandmaster Jeff Finder, who was my first FMA teacher and especially in Kabali Serrata. You know, Sonny Mayo, who first put me into the WCAF, and then of course Defender Dog, who made me sip the Kool-Aid, and then you, who has been, you know, a great friend, mentor, instructor for me for the past couple of years. Even when we almost killed a baby, but you know,
that baby had it coming.
That they did.
Listen to the rules. It's on you.
Exactly. Stupid choices, own reward. But you know, my teammates, and I'll talk about this later, but I had the perfect storm of guys who were with me. And essentially, I want to start it with this. You know, a lot of times there's a talk of the individual in martial arts, but I think when fighting, and I really believe this when I was competing in Muay Thai, or when I was training Muay Thai and I took fight, this is the greatest team effort ever. Because when you step into that ring, you are alone, but you are the product in sum total of everyone you have worked with, whether it was training, sparring, and for this, I learned that there's a real big mental aspect to the game where you have people that you could talk to and bounce things off of and kind of keep you on the right track. So for everybody I've ever shared a ring, a mat, a sparring, crossing a stick, man, I would like to just say, you know, I wouldn't have done it without you. So my victory is your victory. All the instructors like Carlito Bonhoc, Ron Saturno, particularly these guys work with me, Percival Pobleo, even Nick Elizar, who I had the chance to work with in the Philippines, and I can't list everybody because we'll be here for like 2.5 hours. I gotta say that first, man. I couldn't have done it without everybody's effort, man. So, you know, just put that out there into the universe. Remember that, like when you step out onto that ring, and even in the Dog Brothers type match, man, it's like, even though you're not looking to win, you are the sum components of everybody you've trained and worked with. You know, and I really wholeheartedly felt that and understood that through this journey, man. So thank you for letting me just spout that little diatribe there.
Oh, hell yeah, man. And you know, since I'm one of the people you talked about, on behalf of all the people you talked about, you still are the one that had to do it. You know what I mean? And it was the way that you were receptive to the things that you've learned from all those people that you talked about. You know, that's the personal part of the journey for you. So enough kissing people's asses.
Yeah.
What was it that brought you to the Philippines to kick the shit out of the world? Come out on top. Go USA.
So just to clarify real quick, it was the senior heavyweight division single stick that I'd won. But so what really transpired was, I had first started training in WECAF, and you were the first guy I fought full on like DBMA style. So that flipped my whole world. We talked about that on the last podcast. I don't want to get like all into that. But what had happened was I started dabbling with not dabbling, I actually threw myself fucking headfirst into Piper Knife with Dean Franco and Lloyd DeYoung, and who again, grateful to them guys. And there was a WECAF tournament, and it was they had knife sparring, and it was the one held in Jersey. It was the East Coast Nationals, and I was like, screw it, I want to see how my Piper's going to hold up. So I'm training Piper left and right, and I get there, and the guys, from Sonny Mayo's gym, the fight team that I'm with, we're like, Nick, you're already here, $15, do the single stick. So I was like, all right, no problem. So I did the single stick fights, and I just kept winning, and I was getting pissed because I didn't even train for it. Like, I really didn't train for it. And I just was fighting like an angry guinea from the East Coast. Like, and you even laughed about it because you told me you were proud, because every single round I was getting threatened with a deduction or a disqualification because, and I was told I was like too aggressive as a fighter. And I won. And at the time, and I'm not downturning it, like when I was like, oh, I won the gold here, I was like, yeah, fine. I didn't give a shit. I was thinking about the knife. And, long story short, I did the knife tournament, got trounced because it was a point sparring, right? I thought it was supposed to be.
Piper's not set up for that.
No. And especially that there was no thrusting to the face. So all the times I stabbed my opponent in the head did not count. But you know what? I didn't lose to a schlub.
That's weak sauce.
It is.
In a knife fight, stab him in the face.
Yeah, I caught the eye.
Anyone that doesn't know about knife fighting, stab that guy in the face immediately. You stab him in the face, that's the end. Sorry, continue. That rule irks me.
Yeah, but I lost to my buddy Rich. Yeah, he's a solid fighter, and he's really awesome martial art. He actually was on the fight team with me in the Philippines, and he did fantastic. So I wasn't salty about it, but I basically, I brought a slingshot to a gunfight. So, I was more pissed about that. Come to find out, as a result of that win, I was technically like invited to be representing Team USA in the WECAF International, and I was like, okay. I was like, maybe I'll do it. So about a week after that, I found out my mother had liver cancer. So that threw my world into insane disarray. So at first I was like, okay, she's going to get through this. And come January 1st, I'm going to start training for this tournament that's supposedly happening in July. Come to visit her on Christmas. It was terminal. And, and one of the last conversations I had with her, and this is sad and it's funny, was I was like, Mom, I said, anything happens to you, I said, I'm going to go to the Philippines and I'm going to win the gold. And she says to me, so you're going to fly across the world and hit people with a stick in my honor? And I was like, yeah, I guess. Great, whatever your other mother wants. If you knew my mother, that was typical. That was typical mom. And, when she passed, I don't care who you are. Your mother passes away. Your world's ripped in pieces, man. And then, you knew me. I was going through a lot of stuff to where basically I was like, screw the tournament. I don't want to do it. But then I hemmed and hawed, and they also, and I'm not knocking WECAF, they didn't have their act together. Like, there was no set date. There was no set place. So I'm like, why am I going to spend all this money to fly out there? And all of a sudden I got to go fight in a parking lot. I got to, follow her Twitter feed to find out where the matches are. But I come to find out, it was an election year, and Philippine politics are very interesting. You could have booked an arena, and all of a sudden the guy who just won be like, fuck you, I'm having a party here. So they were kind of trepidatious as to where they were going to have the event. So I understand that now. At the time I was like, get your fucking act together. So fast forward, my mother passes in January. I had a few more knee injuries. I was not in good health, just physically. And then, the talk of the guys at Mayo's gym were like, we're going. And I'm like, that's where the seed was in my head, where it was like, if am I good enough? Can I fulfill that promise I made to my mother? Should I fulfill that promise I made to my mother? And it was around May that I started seriously considering it and started making phone calls. And, I know I was a real pain in the ass. I was like, I don't know, should I go? Should I not go? And this and that, blah, blah, blah. And this is where, you being integral to the story, you being somebody who I look up to, admire, and trust implicitly with fighting and stuff like that. I made the phone call to you. And it was pretty evident in the first 30 seconds what you said to me, which was, you already know my answer.
Well, listen, other people have called me in different periods in their life to ask if I think they should fight in whatever it might be. And I've always said the same thing. You wouldn't have called me if you were looking for somebody to say, no, don't fight. You could have an arm off. You could have a leg off. You could be going through all kinds of things. And if you're questioning whether you should fight or not, and you ask me, I'm always going to go, yeah. You wouldn't be questioning it if the answer wasn't fucking yes. You would, if the answer was no, you wouldn't bring it up. You know what I mean? If you shouldn't fight, and if you knew you should fight. There was a younger guy in the Dog Brothers. I won't call him out on this one, but he did the same thing in May, and he brought it up because he'd broken his hand, and he said, I broke my right hand. I don't know what I should do. What do you think? I said, you wouldn't have asked me if you didn't know that I was going to tell you to fight with your fucking left hand. So you knew it.
No, I did. But, the interesting thing was, I don't say, necessarily like, to discount WeCaf or whatever, but you don't fight it. You've never dabbled in it. But I think when you saw what I did in November and how I didn't fight like a total WeCaf fighter, you were just kind of, and you had even said it, it's interesting to see a guy who started WeCaf, then threw himself into Dog Brothers style fighting, and then to see how your WeCaf fighting was just completely different, and you had said to me, like, it's going to be interesting to see how it turns out, and
yeah,
you supported it, man. It was awesome.
I've gotten to see a period of your development. So I met you at, X point. We're now at Y point. And the stuff in the middle is because of proximity. We live relatively close to each other, right? So a few times a year, there's possibility to be able to cross-pollinate. The New York group and the Boston group are close. We do that sort of thing. So having gotten to witness you at those points in your evolution, in November, I was saying, all right, here we go. Like, we're starting to see the actual development now that you've gotten this new perspective. Because there was a point, whatever it was, 2018 or 17, the day of infamy, at Sonny Mayo's gym, was, like a born again day for you. And you were, as I said before, in the other podcasts, you didn't throw out your old system and just be like, oh, new system. You were like reaffirmed in what you were doing. And now you needed to look at it from a perspective that was a little bit different from where you were at. So seeing that flow from like, okay, sheer WeCaf style. Well, now for 5 years or whatever, it seems like most of your sparring and everything that I've seen from you has been leaning into the Dog Brothers style of the harder full contact stick fighting. But then to be like, all right, now I have something to prove in the WeCaf side. That's where it really gets interesting, because you didn't totally throw out that.
No, I will be honest. one of the better compliments I got from somebody who witnessed my fights. They were like, I totally see the Dog Brothers influence when you were in the ring. But you know, we'll get to that, I suppose, you know. But no, I appreciated that. And that's one thing why I love about you is that you have been this, you know, hovering guru on a cloud as I go through my journey, you know, just kind of watching me throwing
I'm
rocks
so
at me.
sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't have thunderbolts, but I'll definitely have rocks and
Empty beer cans. You fucking guinea. But yeah, man.
I think
you
we're
know,
still allowed to use racial slurs about white people, so I'm not editing that out.
oh yeah, I'm Italian, so you know, I'll say it. You know, if anybody's got a problem, you know, I'm half Ginzaloon, so go fuck yourself. But oh god, I'm cursing a lot down here. But anyways, I'm with you, so it doesn't make difference.
Yeah.
No kids are here, and if they are, you're
Dropping
terrible
the-
parents.
Dropping the yeah, right. Your parents are already screwing up. If you're a little boy, you're gonna be selling crack. If you're a little girl, you're gonna be on the pole.
Yeah.
You should not be listening to me.
No. Oh man. So
Anyway.
so mid-May, you know, and I had to talk with my wife, you know, and you know, she basically helped me understand, you know, and articulate the idea. It wasn't, you know, it was she's very supportive of everything. So it was fantastic. But basically, she helped me arrive at the point that if I don't go, I will never know what would happen, and it would haunt me for the rest of my life. And that would be worse than if I went out there and I lost. So she supported me on it. So I booked the ticket when I finally found out what the date was. Then comes to find out, you know, I'm going to have to be in some sort of weight class. So, you know, funny thing is, like, you know, you kind of get complacent, which, you know, at least I did. I was getting complacent with where I was at my weight, and I get on the scale and I'm like, oh no, I'm like 15 to 20 pounds heavier than I thought I was.
Yeah.
I got to do something about this. So midday on, I hit a ferocious regimen of just training for this fight. Now, WeCaf and Dog Brothers style of fighting, each, you know, completely different philosophically and completely different physically.
Right.
You know, Dog Brothers, a lot more power, a lot more contact, a lot more strategy, you know. There's also different skill sets you need. You know, Muay Thai comes into play when you get up close and you get grappled, or when you go to the ground, you need jujitsu, you know. WeCaf, and I will tout the benefits of WeCaf. It is cardio and stamina like a mofo, you know, and it's the ability to just, because I'm not knocking it, but it is like a game of tag, bah, 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 you know, and to play within the rules, you got to have the most strikes and you got to vary your strikes. So I can't just keep pounding you in the same spot of the head. If I hit you 500 times in the same spot, they stop counting after 3, I think. So it's about varying your targets, blah, 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 blah. And then this was an interesting thing, problem solving on the fly, which happens in Dog Brothers, which I've had, you know, in the fights that I've had, but in a different aspect. So when I have a different goal set of having to hit you more than you hit me and having to vary where my strikes are, now you're trying to disrupt me with your check hand and you're hitting me. It kind of was like speed checkers, man, you know, where I'd say Dog Brothers would be speed.
Can you grab your opponent's stick?
Yes, for the count of 3, unless you disarm and you can get called on it like I did and have a point deducted. So,
Okay.
But you have to make a move for it. You know?
No, I would just grab the guy's stick and hold it while I beat him like a drum.
Oh yeah, no. So
that's why my hands are all fucked up. Because I do stuff like that. But
so based on that, you know, it's interesting because a lot of guys, and I'm not knocking them for what they did, they're like, oh, you got to spar, you got to spar, you got to spar. And I'm like, I fight the Fender Dog every weekend. I'm okay with fighting. Like, you put the big jacket and the helmet and the gloves on me and the pads and the form. I don't care, you know? And I had a guy tell me he was like punishing me, and I was like, oh, I saw you hitting me. I didn't feel it because you hit me with the balsa wood twig, you know? So for me, I knew what I had to do was just build up my stamina. And I think I have it posted on my YouTube page. If you just look up Nick Merchant WeCalf, you'll find Daikaiju Self Defense Fitness. The fights from the Philippines are there, and the workout was there. And I sent that to you. And I went on some real Rocky IV joint, man.
Yeah, you were doing some serious post-apocalyptic shit.
Yeah,
you were ready. You were ready.
I had
for
that.
Wastelands.
You know, when I prepped for the Open in 2019, that was kind of what formed that workout, because pushing this giant Jeep tire up a hill, having to drive through with your opponent, and then making sure it doesn't roll back on you twofold. I don't want to break my neighbor's house because that already happened once, and it went over the fence. But also, you know, learning how to stop something moving, or at least, you know, backpedaling and not falling over yourself. Grabbing the tire, those one-handed flips, just for that pure just yank power. Sledgehammer hits on the tire just to, you know, and it's not just like, oh, I'm hitting hard. Like, I really took the point, because I have a torn rotator cuff. I can't swing like that. So I'm swinging using my hips and my shoulders and trying to use more body behind it than anything. And then, you know, I did a lot of prescriptive stuff from my physical therapist for my knees and my, of course, as soon as I start training, I get like a ruptured tendon in my ankle, or an angered tendon. I don't know. It didn't rip or break, but like I couldn't walk for like a couple of days. It was bad.
An angry tendon.
Yeah, it's basically, but when you go to your orthopedic and they tell you your knee is angry at you, like, it's like, oh, is that scientific or what? But I had a great physical therapist who really helped get me into shape with that too, man. But here's the philosophical difference I feel between Dog Brother. And let me just say also that, and I mean, you already know this, but because of my close association with you and like Defender Dog, some people have mistakenly called me a dog brother. I am not a dog brother. I also know for a fact, if I was running my mouth about that, you'd be one of the first people to check me on it, which I appreciate. But no, you know, because of my,
I've done it before.
Yeah, but just to clear the air, I'm all in with you guys, but I'm not a dog brother. I'm not even a dog or a candidate or anything like that. But I have experienced the Open. I have experienced, you know, beat the crap out of cancer 3 times. I've, you know, gone to the sparring at your house, stuff like that. I would venture to say that I have experienced dog brother fighting. And
you're legit as fuck, man. If we were a motorcycle gang, you're an associate at least. you're going down too. They're gonna be asking you some questions.
Exactly. No, I appreciate that. But there is a stark philosophical difference, at least for me. And when I brought my buddy up to beat the crap out of cancer, I told him, I was like, this is going to be the greatest day of your fighting life. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, it's not when you're fighting. I said, it's the ride home. And he goes, what do you mean? I was like, because you are going to process so many things you did right and so many things you did wrong, and how you handled this like curveball and stuff like that. And I think that's the true reward. And that's my understanding of the higher consciousness through harder contact, because you really learn about yourself in a high pressure, high stakes. That's the key, the consequence, high stakes situation where I remember when we almost killed the baby, stick flew out of my hand. And, you know, I remember after the fight, you were like, I watched you look at your stick like you were going to get it. And I'm so glad you didn't, because I was going to beat the fuck out of you, you know? And I knew, like, then I was like, I made the right decision to just go headlong, take you on with one stick versus your 2, and just see what happens, rather than me scramble, let me get my weapon, you know? And you don't get
fair. That stick was behind the baby at that point. You weren't going to get it.
No, you would have beat me into the stands. It would have been fantastic, WWF style.
But you did immediately, as you said, you immediately transitioned to the one stick mode.
Yeah.
You didn't spend any time lamenting the fact that, oh, I had 2 sticks now and you only had 1.
Yeah. And how else would I?
Immediately you were worrying about your shins getting smashed.
Yes. Oh, thank you, Pappy Dog.
But,
yeah. But I mean, where else would I have learned that? You know what I mean? Now, with WeCalf, my mentality changes immensely because it's competitive, and I hate being competitive because I'm nasty. I am not a nice person. You've seen what I did in Jersey. I fought angry. I was just, you made me win. God damn it. You know, it's like, But my mentality is this: if we're competing, you're standing in my way of progress. And where I've come to be is, if you stand in my way, I'm going to throw you down a flight of stairs and ride you down to the fucking bottom like a surfboard, And unfortunately, I get a real nasty side. My poor wife had to put up with my like just hair trigger temper. My students at school like just would come in, they were like quiet at the desk. They're like, no, Merch isn't the one today. And you couple that with the fact, and I haven't really said this anywhere, I wasn't dealing with the death of my mother, because when my mother passed away, and I made the promise, I had to kind of take the reins and help my father. My brother wound up having triple bypass. I'm like, I didn't have time to process it. So now think about where my head is at. I'm in this situation where it's like, you're in my way and I'm going to fucking kill you. Plus I lost my mother and I promised I'm going to win this thing. I'm just a nasty son of a bitch at that point. Like I'm just not, admittedly, I don't think I was a likable person for those, especially like those last 2.5 weeks leading up to the match, So yeah, so I'm in the mode for it. So time comes. Actually, training at Sunny Males with the guys was really cool. We're all trying to like help each other out. The moment it hit me was when we got our Team USA uniforms. All right. So
which was
like,
slick as fuck, by the way.
They are.
The photo shoot you guys did. It was nice.
Yeah, even though they all got the FMA condom on the back, I was like, but
there's nothing you can do about that.
No, but you put the jacket on and it's like, holy fuck, my ticket's booked. No, all right, man. My ticket's booked.
Cat issues.
I wouldn't expect anything less from Loki, man. But
God, he's such a bastard.
you get the uniform, right. You got the uniform, you're registered, and you got your ticket. And it's like, yo, I'm really doing this. I'm really doing this. The only drawback about the uniform is not conducive for warm weather at all. It is strictly a 60 degrees and below type of jacket. So yeah, was not fun to wear in the Philippines, man. So
you're saying in the Philippines in the summer it was warmer than 60 degrees?
Oh yes. Oh, and that's another thing. That's another thing I left out about my training. Having been to the Philippines before, I knew how humid it was. When I went to Manila, there was one day I walked outside and said, fuck this. And I went right back inside. Like, I was like, I'm not dealing with this. So I used the sauna suit for all of my workouts, which was nightmarish. And I would wear also the elevation mask. Now,
the Bane thing going.
See, now here's the thing. People are like, you're not going to lose weight on the sauna suit. That elevation mask is going to increase your cardio. And it's not a matter of that. For me, it's a matter of producing under adverse conditions, right?
Those people are fucking stupid. You'll absolutely lose weight in a sauna suit, and you absolutely get better cardio by restricting your air because you have to work harder. It's not a great idea, but it's also not the stupidest way I've ever heard somebody train for a fight.
No, well, I wanted to acclimate myself to just sweating my nuts off and struggling breathing, like when you get to that point and still producing. And after all of my workouts, then it was just working the tire, different combos and stuff like that I knew I would have to use for weak calf, the T-strike. I threw some of the Serrata stuff in there. We have, there's 2 angle 2s. There's that one. And then you come back around. So I was really practicing being really quick on this one so I could come back around, Okay. So think about it. If I'm here and I'm swinging it around and I'm cutting the side of your neck. So rather than the usual right then left, I'm doing a right and then it's a roll around. Think about the broke back. It's almost like that.
So I don't have sticks, but I have chopsticks.
There you go.
So we're coming from here. But the strikers come from here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
So, I mean, you land it with a stick. You may get a good shot. A blade, you cut the neck, it's just, giving somebody something different to look at.
Sure. It seems like, I don't mean to,
no.
I mean to interrupt, but it seems to me like weak half style, some of the weak half style fighting almost would lend itself more to a blade. Versus Dog Brothers, where like we're in a fight with a stick, unless it's a what. So for those that are not entirely familiar with the way that the Dog Brothers lays out fighting, there's stick fights, and then there's sparring with aluminum weapons. But a stick fight is a fight with a stick, whereas sparring with aluminum weapons involves a bit of imagination, obviously.
Yeah.
But you also start to think when you have a full length aluminum sword or aluminum knives that are an 1/8 inch thick or more, there's enough of a pain factor that you treat them less like a stick and more like a sword, but they're not exactly, because you're not doing damage, right? Like you're not laying open a person. You're not actually able to thrust and score, the sorts of injuries that you would score. And there's a little bit more cooperation involved. But it seems to me like there's certain tactics that if you were actually using a blade, if we're fighting with a blade, mine are over there, so I should have had one on hand. But if you're fighting with a blade, it's kind of a touch and slide.
Yeah.
To cut rather than a whoop power shot. And I feel like some of those things would apply to weak half more, or no? Is it more just tippy tappy, tippy tappy, tippy tappy?
It's because I know one of the things when I did November, when I did the East Coast, one of the guys pulled me aside. They're like, "You're throwing power shots. He can't feel them." And he took my stick from me. You see him crack me on video. He's like, and he tells me, he goes, "Play the game." Now, not to say there are guys in weak half who don't hit hard, but they don't necessarily, like, the judges aren't going like, "Oh, that sounded like a powerful hit." They're busy just counting and watching who's controlling the ring and stuff like that. So are there guys who hit hard in weak half? Absolutely. But it's not, I mean, maybe you get a good shot on the right part of the guy's body and that could cause him to quit. But really, at the end of the day, from what I have seen and what I've witnessed, it was just really about who can just deliver the most, and just dominate the ring. Basically, that's what it is.
So that control, like the ring generalship, the controlling the ring and dominating the ring, that's really important.
So my understanding is how many hits, varying of the hits, demonstration of technique and defense, and who's controlling the ring. Those are the 4 things that I've gathered that were what they judge you upon.
Okay.
So yeah. Now I get to the Philippines, flight delayed, 20 hours on a plane. I get there and I'm in, like, first thing I do, I check into the hotel. I'm on the treadmill, I'm like, I'm doing my thing. I'm like, yo, I'm going to work out. I spoke to you at that time and you were like, yo, you look fucking ready. I was like, yeah. And I figured I didn't want to do anything like you can't, even though the Philippines is the home of the stick, like you walk around swinging one and they kind of look at you weird, and basketball is bigger than Arnis. But like, it's, so I sought out this dude, Grandmaster Nick Elizar of Nickel Stick Balintawak. And I've always was interested in nickel stick. Me, I like to fight up close. Serrata, the Medio Corto range. And it was Balintawak guys that always kind of gave me more of a problem. So I was always intrigued by that. I like to look up the guys that are lesser known, and I'm not knocking the guys who are more known. There's a lot of badass Balintawak dudes, but there was just something like I saw it in Grandmaster Elizar's videos that I was just kind of like, there's something real street about this guy. There's something like no nonsense, no bullshit, and like he's not like the flash and play. Like he's about ending it. And I was like, let me contact him. So I had contacted him ahead of time, and finally I got to go. And I don't, let's just say it was an adventure getting to him.
I remember the pictures you sent me.
Yeah, he was deep in the barangay, and the barangays are the neighborhoods in the Philippines. And for people who haven't been there, if you think your life is hard, you're a fucking idiot. Like seriously, like Filipino people make do with what they got, and they work hard and they bust their ass and they put up with things like there's no Wi-Fi, and it's like, if you go into a barangay and you see how hardworking Filipino people live, and you don't go back to America almost ashamed of some of the things you complained about, you're a fucking douchebag. That's it, plain and simple. And I was welcomed into his home, and it was pretty cool walking down alleys to get there and stuff like that. And we just clicked. We just clicked, he and I, and you could just see he was like a real like this guy has put his Balintawak to the street, and it was cool to work with him. Then I get sick, which got me scared because I'm checking the symptoms, and guess what? Everything was checking off the box.
Corona.
Yeah, but it was also with the flu. So God bless my wife.
Weird how that happens.
Yeah.
Nothing political on this show.
No. So my wife, God bless her, packed me with COVID tests for every day of the week that I was there. She had the foresight, because me personally, I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm fine. And I had some antibiotics and stuff that I wound up having to take. But every morning waking up, like I'm in bed, I got the fever, I got the chills, I got this cough that's not going away. No, I didn't have the fever, I just had the chills. I'm taking COVID tests, and I'm like crossing my fingers, like, yo, I did not spend $5,000 to quarantine and miss out on this, and I'm a fairly religious guy. I did a lot of praying, but also I'm a pragmatist. I believe in science. I took my antibiotics, the second, third day.
You could do both.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing.
That's how you usually don't die.
You can believe in God, and you can have science on your side, and you won't go to hell. Who knew?
That's like some superpower shit.
Yeah, man. So I got walkable, like out of bed and stuff by the time it was for the opening ceremony. I just kept my mask on. So opening ceremonies, dude, again, I had that moment where I was like, oh, I'm really on the team. Like, I'm standing here with all these other guys, and we're all representing our countries. And I'm like, yo, this kind of feel like a mini Olympics, man. I'm like, they're announcing us by country and stuff like that, There was a team from India. There was the South Korea team. There was this one guy from Switzerland, Daniel. We adopted him. He was by himself. He was the only guy. Really nice dude, Daniel Gerber. We were just like, come on, you're with us. We would coach him and we were his ring men and stuff like that, supporting him. There was a couple guys from Brazil, Portugal. I don't know how that happened. And it was just, like I said, it was just surreal.
Transatlantic slave trade.
Yeah.
The transatlantic. There's Dan Carlin has a great podcast on it. It's called Human Resources. That's the Brazil-Portugal connection, if you don't know.
Yeah, Brazil, Portugal likes to fly under the radar, I've noticed. But history books.
Them and the Dutch.
Oh no, the Dutch. They'll put. But what about the French? No, no, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway. Dutch East India Company. But so it was just this. I don't know. It was just this wild moment that I'm like, yo, I'm walking into this arena and I'm representing my country, right? Wearing the Foxhound crest on my head, which we talked about. I was like, I promise you, I'd fight with that. And it was just cool. Like, Filipino people are really welcoming towards Americans, as long as you're not a dick. And they really cheered for us pretty much as hard as they cheered for their own team. Now, the Filipinos constituted, I think, anywhere from like 200 to 300 competitors.
Damn.
There was and
a healthy contingent.
Yeah, but you know what? Because of Junie Cañete passing away and it being postponed for 2 years, and Senator Mig Zubiri, who's proposing and making Arnis officially the official sport of the Philippines, and there was a lot of like promo of governments wanting their people to represent. So basically, you gave a lot of these guys, they were giving a lot of people opportunity to compete, which I thought was really cool. Like, hey, it's like a basketball tournament. It's like, okay, you underprivileged kids, guess what? We're getting you shoes, sneakers, get on the bus, you're gonna go play ball, and it was just a great thing, like to see, all these different people, and they were great, dude. It was kind of funny because we had my buddy Rashik, who's African American, and he was probably like the only one there. So everybody wanted to take pictures with him, right? Well, it's not, but you stand out. That's the one thing. It's a very homogenous culture where, as a Westerner, you stand out, and especially if you're African American, Black, you're definitely standing out. But it was interesting that after a while they kept asking just the New York members of the teams to take pictures. Like there were other people that would take, but like we were constantly like taking pictures with everybody. And I was, my friend's like, why us? I was like, dude, look at how we move, how we walk, how we talk. I was like, we're different. It's like, even though we're all different colors, we had a Dominican guy, Black, and we had a Filipino mixed guy, and then you have me. I mean, we just looked like we're from New York. We were like a postcard from New York. Like, hey, look at us,
Right.
So
in a lot of places in the world, New York City is like a whoa, New York.
Yeah.
And but between yourself and those guys, I'm sure you weren't playing it up at all.
Oh, of course not.
At all.
One of the funny things is quite a few of the Filipinos, when they hear me talk, they're like, "Oh, you talk like Goodfellas. You talk like Robert De Niro." And it's kind of funny because I have the New York accent, but when you hear that, it's like, oh, they're entertained by it. Let me lay it on a little thicker for you. Let me, So
preaching to the choir on that one.
No, they were such great people, man. Like it's suddenly like, it was other teams and their coaches wanted to take pictures, referees, judges, and then it was like the old ladies cheering their family members on wanted to take pictures with us. So it was just really a welcoming like event. Like you would think like I'm going into their home turf representing my country. They're gonna be, no, not at all, dude.
Be against you,
yeah.
So you didn't have that Rocky IV moment where you had to win them over.
No, well,
I can change, and he can change, and we all can change.
I won them over. I did win them over, through the matches, but like, there was a lot of this. Like, so the day of the opening ceremony, as soon as we were done with that, they had to still finish the Filipino. Like they were running behind. They were running on straight Filipino time. Like they were behind a day and a half, but somehow they managed to get it all together. I did you start meeting other fighters and other guys, and and it was a mess load of kids, dude. There was one division of kids and there were 20 competitors, like for the finals. Like that was deep. In one division of like 10 to 12 knife point sparring. I was like, Jesus Christ. You can't get that many
murder midgets.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want 20 kids with a knife coming at me.
Yeah, right.
About how the old how many 8-year-olds could you beat in a fight? Well, when they all have knives, 20 is too many.
Yeah, I think 3 are too many, dude. I'd struggle with 2.
3.
I'd be caught off guard.
But well, you're a teacher, so you have to suppress the urge to kick children in the chest all the time. I've gotten to do it a few times, and it really feels good.
I cheered you on when you did it. I lived vicariously through you, man.
I was going to say that was a vicarious living moment. That time I punted Aaron Sachs across the room.
God, that was so beautiful.
I'm still really sorry for that. Please don't.
I love him, but I rewound it like 5 times and just imagine different kids. Not Aaron, because I love Aaron. He's fantastic, But so
those kids are getting big, man. They're getting too big to punt across the room.
Yeah, he's built like his father. He's a brick shithouse, man. He's gonna put a kid in a wheelchair one day when he tackles him. So you talked about like the style of fighting in WECAF, and real quick, Antonio Lucero, who's West Coast guy, really did a fantastic job of like organizing things and stuff like that. And the whole Team USA from Kid Connection, Felix Royals group, everybody kind of was really awesome. I gotta show love and respect for that. I started noticing some strange things, style and culture wise. There was first I want to talk about is the economic disparity. There was a clear difference between the haves and the have-nots. The kids whose parents paid for, Kali instruction and coaches and certain teams, if they medaled, got cash rewards, and they go to the good schools and the private schools. And then there was some real grit kids who were like, yeah, I work in the rice paddy. Sometimes I go to school. I take care of my grandma, and then I'm in my yard practicing knife and kali till I fall asleep. You know, there were some real down boys, man, you know, and
Yeah.
there are kids like they would beat the hell out of kids on certain teams. And then that team that you want to aspire to, I don't want to name it because I don't want to get into politics and stuff like that.
No, yeah.
And they're like, oh, I'm sorry, we don't have any room for you. And this kid is like, I just waxed the floor with your best fighter and you don't have room for me. It kind of was disheartening, man, you know, to see that. But take a guess which side of the kids I was running with, you know?
Well, I think we were on the same side.
Yeah, you know. It was different to see like in some of the WECAF sparring. Actually, before I get to the WECAF stick actual contact, I did a point sparring match. I fought a kid from the national Philippine team. I lost. It was my fault because I let him get in my head. Like I was keeping him at bay. He was a big boy. But I was just sidestepping, you know, first gear, second gear, third gear, and hitting on the way out. I think he picked up that I was a brawler because he bum rushed me. And as soon as like he ran into me, my mentality changed like, motherfucker, you standing in my pocket. And then I got tagged and lost because I stopped moving. And I was like, son of a bitch. I didn't play the game. When I played the game, I was doing all right. And in a second, my mindset changed. And like suddenly I was like, how dare you? And I got into full contact mode. And then I got trounced by like 7 points in a row. The real thing I was there for was a single stick. So I really watched a lot of the fighters. And it was weird in the light to middle weights. There was like this unspoken agreed upon distance of 6 to 12 inches that they would just leave open and just hit each other constantly.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And I was just kind of like, that's dumb, you know?
Right.
But
right.
It wasn't until I saw you got to the heavier fighters that you saw more of the crashing and controlling and stuff like that. Not to say these guys weren't talented, but
no, but it sounds like they stood in death range.
in a Dog Brothers fight, you're standing 12 inches. Yep. And you're just both hitting each other nonstop. But that's where the equipment comes into play. But these guys were fast. They were furious, man. One of the Cañete's grandson, oh, he put a clinic on, bro. He put a clinic on. He inspired me. Like he was tagging his kid up and he holds his hand out like this. And as soon as the kid goes to swing, he swaps out. Bang! I was just like,
that's a nice move. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Like, and dude, you can see it through his grill. Like he had that look like, come on, motherfucker. I was just like, oh, I like this guy. He's popping shit on the mat.
He was ready for it. I like that.
You're a grandson of the Cañetes, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a Cañete, so but I like, you know, the people that there's so many people that view martial arts as, oh, you have to have, you know, nothing but respect and it's gotta be this and the discipline and that. Yeah. There's fucking parts of that. But there's parts of it that are like, oh, if you're good at an art of war, which is what martial arts are, you gotta expect there's gonna be some wild motherfuckers involved. And those people, that's where the entertainment comes in. There's people that intend to entertain because that's their personality, versus there's guys that are like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Let's do this. Let's fucking do this right now. And if you fire off half-cocked when they do this, they make you pay.
Yeah. No, he did that. It was a thing of beauty, bro. Like I was just like, oh, you know.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I was duly impressed with that. I'll talk about Zubiri later. I'll talk about the matches now. So it's I get to the single stick, right? And I can't get into anything that I can prove or say, but I found it kind of interesting. My bracket changed multiple times. And by the time I looked at it, I realized I was fighting, I think, the European champion. And then if I won, I'd have to fight the world champion. And I'd have to fight the guys who were in the semifinals. So I was like, so wait a second, I got to have the most fights to win this thing. So part of me was just like, I was gonna bitch about it, but then part of me, and if you know me in my head, I was like, I'm fucking Godzilla. They're sending all the fucking monsters after me. Fuck that. I'm coming after everybody. So I get into the zone. I break out the stick I fight with you guys, right? So it's not the weak half stick. It's a fucking club.
No, it's
Yeah. And I put my headphones on, and here's the beauty of what I can tout as a martial artist is I'm also a musician. So I had Rolling Stones pumping and we don't make no weak shit. We don't make
no.
any weak shit. So I'm off on the side. I got my Foxhound shirt on. I got my headband on. I'm just straight New York bopping, boom bap, and I'm just like practicing my strikes with a fucking club. And I'm just trying to work through it all, man. And I'm just like, I don't care. Just you're just gonna go in there and do what you got to do. And I'm getting fucking amped. So I go to my first fight, and this dude from Germany who probably has the best fight name, Tom Rottweiler. And I'm not gonna lie, like I said, I was like, really? This fucking guy's name is Rottweiler? Like he couldn't be, Jimmy Poodle or something? Like, what the fuck, man? And the thing that I had an advantage was I saw that I didn't have any Filipino fighters. So I saw I was fighting mostly European guys. So I'm like, all right, this dude's not gonna, and he was built guy, man. He was really athletic. And I was like, he's gonna want to fight in. He's gonna try to crash. He's not gonna try to do outside stuff. And that's what happened. And I will go on record to say he was my toughest opponent that day. He was the only one. It was a split decision that I won by. And if you watch the fights and anybody, hey, listen, this is how transparent I am because at this point, there's a lot of people who got a lot of shit to say about me. Look up Nick Merchant Week Half on YouTube. You can see my fights. There you go. All right. I don't know how many of you other fuckers can say that or do that, but whatever. There's my shit talking moment. But Tom Rottweiler, he was a solid opponent, dude, and I just had to keep up the pressure. He wasn't backing down really, so it came down to me hitting him more and just moving my strikes and hits. I think he almost he was going for a disarm, and I clung to the life, and actually, here's a trick I learned from Master Jeff Finder, who this was told to him. If you guys don't know, Jeff Finder actually fought in the first week half internationals, in the first international Eskrima tournament, and he fought against Mig Zabiri. He took the silver. Grandmaster Angel Cabales told him about, because of the humidity in the Philippines, to double roll your stick, which means roll it in the first knuckles and then roll it up like that. So you have a tighter grip. So, think more times we grab, we're here, but when you do this and you really rink it around, your fingers, you really wrench them around.
Yeah.
So that was the one thing where I don't think he got the disarm because I had a tight fucking death grip on it.
Yeah, that's interesting because that's not something I know about, but I tape my stick like a hockey stick.
Now,
so I tape my stick with, like a spiral grip on it on at least one end.
Yeah.
And I got hockey tape, so I don't use the friction tape, but cloth hockey tape plus the gloves that we use have a similar sort of like soft leather palm.
Mm-hmm.
So that takes away, I'm used to, I've been holding a cylindrical object like this for quite some time. So I'm used to having, a strong, firm, yet gentle grip.
Supple even. Supple.
It's a bit supple.
Aggressive.
So I didn't consider that. I like the idea of that double gripping the stick. I'd never heard that term before now. So
yeah. You know what? Seriously, give it a shot with the hockey tape, and see how that feels. Like I'll do that sometimes.
Well, especially with the lighter diameter. Like I feel like with the full on Dog Brothers fighting stick, I have pretty on it. But we spar with lighter sticks.
Yeah.
So that we don't have to use padded sticks. I don't.
Yeah.
If you've ever sparred with me, I don't believe in padded sticks because they don't behave correctly.
No, they don't have the right weight.
Well, it's not even that. It's they don't behave correctly when they hit each other.
Yeah.
It's like if you're gonna sword fight, but you only ever spar with wooden swords. The first time you use steel swords, you're gonna be like, oh, this doesn't do its right. You know what I mean? It's not a weight thing. It's a behavior of the material thing. So that a padded stick doesn't behave correctly. A lighter rattan stick will.
Yeah. Well, that's like what go back to like the training. God bless Defender Dog, because you know those 2 weeks before I left, and you got to see the videos. I convinced him to let me be in full WECAF gear, and I gave him WECAF sticks. And you see, like, these don't even swing right, you know?
No, they don't.
You know, so God bless him for helping me out with that, man. That's a true buddy, man. That's a true brother right there. You know, for him to just be like, yeah, okay, fine, Nick, I'll do that for you, you know. But yeah, man. So Tom Rottweiler, good dude, man. So let's take the travels of the Dirty Wizard. I promise you. There you go. There was this gentleman from Brazil. And again, I can't necessarily prove any of the allegations, but I don't think he was a fan of me. However, from what was told to me, I do feel
sorcerer.
Yes.
I mean, speak Portuguese, so I don't know how to say that, but the closest I can do is Spanish, and he was the Sucio sorcerer.
I've been to a couple of countries, and there's an international language of I'm eye-dogging you and I don't like you, right? And I felt that. Like, as I was just like looking at this dude, and I'm like, why the fuck you ice grilling me, man? You know? Come to find out, you know, he was my next opponent. He was an interesting guy because he would keep grabbing my arm and trying to hit me. And when I stuffed his arm, he bitched to the refs, right? And he starts doing this in the fight. Like, I'm like, all right, Inframan. You know, so I just did it too. So I'm like, all right, you know, he wants to play this game. What happened was he's like, oh no, he was complaining about everything. And then it got to the point where he just basically tried to throw me out of the ring and was hitting me after the fact, like after the whistle and everything like that. Now, at this point, I'm like, one of the things worked on the Serrata cross block. It's almost like when you do like the umbrella entry, but it's like this. All right. And when I came in, and I even copped to it at the end of the video, this came right out in his fucking face mask. And you see his head go back like this, like for a split second. Normally the cross block is here and you hit the weapon or you cut. Control the weapon. This one, what I came out with was like, boom. I took the hit and I'm just fucking mashing your face. And I let him know, I'm like, you're not pushing me around, bro. And they kind of, you know, there was all this call. And then I hate to say this, but this is when I knew I was winning the crowd over around me. The judges looked like this and they give me what's called the Manong eyebrow flash. In the Philippines, they use their facial features to like when they want something in a story.
Their lips and shit. Yeah.
I've seen that. So the Manong eyebrow flash is, right? The judge looked around and he looks at me and goes, and I'm like, all right, these judges like how I'm fighting.
Oh man.
So
like that.
Come to find out too that so we talk about those real down boys, man, right? There was a crew that was just watching me, and you'll see on the video they were so pissed at this guy in protest they threw a WECAF helmet into the ring. Like this guy, they're like, fuck him, we like this American, you know. And I just didn't let this guy push me around, right? And come to find out, his claim, not mine, 3-time world Muay Thai champion. Now, I had a bullshit draw with my Muay Thai fight, but I won it, but whatever, it is what it is. But I know enough Muay Thai to know a clinch. That was not a world-class clinch he was trying to throw on me, right? And then it was a unanimous decision. The beauty of it, and I don't care if this is sportsman. Like the guy was not exactly kind to me afterwards and everything. The judge, the ref almost raised his hand, started to, and then shot my hand up. So that guy had that split second where he thought he won, and I'm like, oh no, unanimous decision for the American. Oh yeah,
that's a rough move on the ref's part,
dude. I put my arm around him. I'm trying to be all sportsmanlike. You know what he says to me? Oh, no hugging, fight fair, fight fair. And I'm like, really? You're bitching? You're bitching at me? Okay, you're complaining.
I saw the photo, and I'm not gonna lie, it did look like a hostage.
Yeah. Oh, he did not want to take that picture of me, and I was like,
if he was holding up a copy of that day's newspaper with the date showing, I wouldn't have been surprised.
I made him take a picture. He was like, come on, I'm taking the picture. He's complaining. He's like, no. I was like, no, we're taking a picture. We're taking a picture. I was such a dick. But I mean, I even go over to his cornerman, and the guy's like running away. And I'm like, yo, I was like, get over here. You know, I'm trying to be respectful.
Yeah.
And then he complained.
That is just respectful.
Yeah. And then he complained to the judges for 15 minutes, you know, I'm sorry, you know. Then comes the poor kid from Korea. Now, while I'm fighting all these guys who are all ranked, and I think that dude, the wizard, he was like a 4th degree black belt in something.
Filthy Gandalf, as he shall now be known.
I love you, man. There were 2 guys. There was another American and the South Korean who they basically got to buy the first round, and that was it. Was it whatever, dude? You line them up, I'll knock them down if I can. This kid, and unfortunately, it's not on the first part of the video. He tried bum rushing me, and like I said, I'm like, you just witnessed my other fights. Like, I'm not going anywhere, and it just became a relentless driving him out of the ring left and right. Like, it was.
What was the range, the weight range? Not to
100 kilos and up.
Okay.
So
100 kilos is like $185.
Actually, no, I'm sorry, 185 and up. 185 and up. So no, 100 kilos is 220.
Oh yeah, 220. Yeah. I'm very soft. I know that.
There are certain people in the.
It was 185 and up. So you must have been like middle.
No, I was 220 when I weighed in. I was 220.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're on the upper end then.
Yeah. But this kid, he wasn't.
That guy was a dum dum.
Yeah, he was.
No, he looked a little smaller than you, but not. It's so tough to tell with those freaking weak half suits on.
Yeah.
Like,
no. He was.
How big is somebody?
He was a fluffy boy, man. He wasn't.
Okay.
There wasn't too much there behind him because he tried, but I think there's a difference when, at like, for instance, like you played I played football. I know what it's like to run into somebody my size or bigger,
Right.
this and that, you know, and then you think about the clashing and the goat fighting, like in some of the DBMA matches, like there's a difference there. Like, so this guy tried running into me and it just did not work out. And like, it was just me, like, I didn't even run at him. If you watch my feet, I'm just walking. You know, and go back to what Crafty says. You could do all this stuff, but if you can't walk and fight and swing the stick, like, you know, yeah.
Yep.
So like that one was just pure ring control. That was just pure ring control. Like it was just like he
you could see when you brought up, sorry.
No, please.
But
sure.
When you brought up that one of the things that the judges based their decisions on in week half, which obviously I didn't really know, was control of the ring. In that fight, you really see your control of the ring. And it was funny because he even did one of those funny little jumpy things.
Yeah.
He did the little jumpy thing and it didn't do anything.
Yeah.
You know, you could see it was like, fuck it, try a leg lock kind of thing. Like where he doesn't have anything else going and you really commanded the space. You know, your distance, distance control I never considered as being a big deal in these kind of fights where that's my entire game is distance control. But it seemed like instead of, okay, well, I'm sucking you in and scoring hits or whatever, it seemed more like, to paraphrase Marshawn Lynch, run through a motherfucker face.
Yeah, that's what it came down to for the most part. But you also have to understand this. My toughest match was first. Then I had to deal with the nonsense of that guy, and then I whooped his ass. And then at this point, like I was firing on all cylinders. Like I was revved up at that point. And now keep in mind, after every match, I'm looking at my pic. Now I had the picture of my mother in my pocket the whole time. So after every match, I'm talking to it. I'm like, Mom, we're almost there, we're almost there. So by the time I got like I was like, there is no fucking way I'm losing this. There is no way. And this kid did not know what hit him. Like it was even at the point, I'll admit, like you'll see some of the showboating. And again, this goes back to Cañete. You'll see me for a point where I go to the kid, like, come on, I even went to Cañete and I told him, I was like, I totally stole that from you, dude. Like I was, and he just kind of laughed. He was like, I appreciate it. I was like, no, I said it was a stroke of brilliance. I said, I was dominating my fight so much that I was like, I took a page out of your book, man. But what he didn't do, what I did, you'll see in the video, I kind of lean and I'm going like this. I saw the kid was out of breath and I'm telling him like, come on, breathe. Come on. We're not done yet. We're not like I was turning the knife because
the knife a little bit. Yeah.
And I got my hands out like this. And what is it? One of my friends said, he goes, dude, he goes, it was so great. He's like, to see you bopping around and popping shit like you were back in New York in between rounds and calls and stuff like that. And the kid caught me on one point and he kind of threw me to the ground and you see me get up. And one guy had asked my friend, because like I started walking like this, they're like, yo, is he injured? And they're like, no, he's in New York kill mode right now. And that's when I ran the kid clear into the other ring, and like it was just relentless. It was just like I just dominated. And the thing was when they announced it, you still had that little bit of doubt, but even though I'm like, yo, I ran through this motherfucker face again, keep running through his face and again.
And again. Most people can't take that. That's one of my favorite interviews of all time. Is this Marchand? Because the guy's all serious. He's like, what do you do? And Marchand's like, I run through a motherfucker face.
Yeah.
Again.
Until he don't like it no more.
He repeats again, something like 25 times. He goes, most people just can't take that. No shit. I passed out twice while you were saying again.
Dude, that's why I took the soundbite of that and I threw it over the highlight video and sent it to you, man.
Fuck yeah.
But when they called the victory, dude, like you seen the video, I collapsed and I cried, man. Like, and some of the judges were like, oh, that was an emotional win. And I told them it had happened. The cool thing was those dudes from the other team, I'm forgetting their name. Arnell Gint, though, was one of the fighters. It was cool. There was this one fighter, and his twin brother was his coach. It was really, but the dude was a monster. His whole team was really good. But like him and his family and their little grandma were like cheering me on, and they kind of like saw that I had my mother's picture, right, dude? Yeah, like they all just hugged me. They congratulated me.
Well, they're very ancestor centric.
Dude, the grandma gave me some bread from her purse. It was delicious.
This is my pocketbook bread.
Listen, man, Filipinos always got food, man. This joint was, I needed it. It was my first carbs in 6 weeks. So I was like, yeah, I'll take it.
That made you cry even harder.
Oh yeah, man.
Like, God damn it, it's bread.
My teammates held me up though, dude. Like they really, they knew how emotional and what my mission was. And it was just like, to think, 33 years ago, my master, Jeff Finder, goes and gets the silver and puts Serrata out there on the weak half stage, like in competition. And now his student at 46 does it and wins the gold. You know what I mean? Like it was just like a martial arts movie from the 80s moment, dude, and even just to backtrack a little bit, and I'll just mention now, is to meet Mig Zabiri, who was Jeff's opponent and who won the gold.
Right.
Yeah, and he's one of the most popular senators in the Philippines and politicians. And when I told him, I'm like, excuse me, Senator Zubiri, I'm the student of Jeff Finder, and I'm here to pay respects to you. And his eyes were like, oh my God, Jeff Finder? and he took the time to ask me about, my master.
Yeah.
And the cool shit was like
the fact that you were like, my master sends his regards. Because
No,
that's the
man.
Filipino politic way.
No, this was a mutual. It's two men who shared a battlefield, have a mutual respect and love for each other because of they put each other through it. And to hear Senator Zubiri say, like, do you know who that guy is? Like, they're like, who's that? Who's that? The guy you're talking to? You know who he is? That's Jeff Finder's student. And they hear these old masters go, Jeff Finder? Like, knowing who he was. And then Zubiri taking a picture with me and Gerald Cañete, which I thought was like really cool. And to be able to say to my master, Jeff, hey, Jeff, Zubiri still respects and remembers you after all these years. These masters still respect and remember you after 33 years. And I'm here representing, like, I'm walking in your footsteps. Like, it was some real, like, student master following the path thing, man, and then
Fuck yeah.
like I said, to win the gold was just, the icing on the cake. Actually, no, that was the cake, but the icing, here was the cool thing, was a lot of the judges and stuff like that were grandmasters of other systems. And a lot of them, like, they came up to me with like this serious shaking of my hand. And one guy goes, you didn't come to compete. You came to fight. No, not even win. He said, you came to fight. He goes, you fight like a Filipino. He's like, more Americans should fight like you. Like, that was like, I was like, holy crap, dude. Like, he was just like, you were relentless. Another guy said to me, he goes, I watched you warm up and you defeated your opponents before you stepped into the ring. He goes, they watched you and you stole their desire to win and you gave them fear instead. Like, I was like, yo, where are you reading this from, bro? Who's writing your script?
That's fucking badass.
Dude,
that's really awesome.
I took away their desire to win and gave them fear. Like, he's like, they were watching you. He goes, and I saw them watching you. He goes, he's like, you were not losing today. And I was like, no, I wasn't, man.
Gave them fear. Fuck yeah.
So, I mean, it was.
What do I have here for you? It's in my little bag. Oh, what is it?
Oh,
it's fear.
Merry Christmas, bitches.
Fuck, man. I like that.
So, yeah, I don't want to, glide over the other events, but I fought a double stick match against Felix Robles, and he's insane, man. He's a good dude. He's really talented guy. That was some of the guys on the team were like, you're fighting Grandmaster Felix. I'm like, yeah, fuck it. When am I going to do it again? I did a Boncao event with this guy, Don Jose Campos. He just wanted to fight. And I was like, I went up a weight class just because he was like, I want to fight. He goes, but I don't want to have to go through all this craziness. I'm going to be at the end of the day. And I was like, look, dude, I said, I'll go up a weight class. I was like, we'll just have fun, man. And he looks, he's like, we'll just play tag. I was like, we'll just play tag. We're not going to go crazy. Boncao is a staff fight. So I never did that before. So I was like, yeah, I'll do it, man. I'll fight you. And we had it was real gentlemanly, like we would hit each other, but we weren't like swinging for the fences like some of these dudes, man. And and he was such a great guy, man. Like you bond with people in such a way. Like, we're at the award ceremony and I'm posing with his family. Like, I'm with his wife and his kids and I got my arms around him. Like, there was that mutual love and respect there, man. But it was just so great to have that with my teammates. And then Rich Coley, he won the heavyweight 18 to 39 division. So it was kind of cool. Like, we both took the heavyweight champs home back to the States. Mm-hmm. He also won for double stick. Really talented fighter. Really, really talented fighter. My buddy Frank fought this guy in knife point sparring. And I kid you not, dude, it was like some straight, like, jungle murder style this guy had. And my buddy Frank beat him. I was like, dude, that's the victory right there. I was like, you may not get that, like, fucking gold medal. Like, you beat some guy who was like, he would have like this dude's style was just like, yo, this is like legit jungle murder style. Mm-hmm. My buddy Rashik, just, you don't want to say the judging's unfair, but when you're in the Philippines and you're going up against the Philippine national team and all the judges are Filipino, I would say any win by the Filipino national team would have an asterisk there. I had to say, and I'm not saying because he's my boy, but like there were quite a few fights where I was like, you fucking smoking crack? Like, did you see the fight that I saw? You know, but that's anywhere. But that's even in like the NFL, man. Like you look at these refs, like
home field shit. Like
yeah,
it happens. It happens. There's nothing,
I
nothing to be
think
said for it. And you're in a sport where it stays with the judges most of the time. Like it's tough to knock somebody out.
yeah, it's really tough
to the judges, but it's tough to knock somebody out.
Yeah. But I mean, that's where I think I had luck in that none of my opponents, there were no Filipinos in my division. So I didn't have that to worry about. So I was like, good, judges just got to deal with me, though some people may have sat on the board and may have tried to pull some favor, but that didn't work out. Just putting it out there, if she's out on the street and charging you $20 for a hand job, she might be a hooker. I'm just saying. So it is what it is. It's not name calling. Sorry for the crass reference. I'm sorry.
First of all, sex worker. We don't use those old terms anymore. They're hurtful.
Apologize. A pleasure specialist.
Street walking whore is no longer acceptable. Just saying.
I mean,
2022.
I don't want to necessarily apologize, like, because I mean, in some ways, there's a lot of the chest puffing of what a true martial artist is. And I subscribe to a lot of it. Like, me, I show love, I show respect, I show humility, but I also, if you do some dumb shit, it's like the guy's fighting dirty. Well, guess what? I'm gonna fight dirty too, and I'm not gonna go, I will win with honor. No, you try to kick me in the nuts, I'm gonna punch you in the dick. I don't care. We're gonna play that game,
as one should.
Yeah, So, if you don't like how I'm saying things or what I'm saying, I apologize, but I'm a fighter more than a martial artist at heart. I love martial arts. I love my system, and I don't turn my back on it. But that was actually a great compliment. Like, so Grandmaster Nick Elizar came to like watch my matches and stuff. And he didn't get to see my stick fight, but I sent him the video, and he calls me. He's like, meet me at Starbucks at 1:30. And I'm like, okay. I was like, bring my stick bag. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, fuck, we're going to like practice in the mall. I get there. My man's dressed like just straight slick gangster, and package wrapped up, and as soon as he sees me, he's open, and he presents me with a Bahi nickel stick Balintawak stick as like a gift for my victory. I was just like, holy, like this is like storybook trip, bro, like from beginning to end. And we go out to lunch, and I'm sitting there with him, his son, and his grandson, and all of them like it's a family system, bro. Like the grandson is a dynamo, man. Like he's just as skilled as his father and his uncles. And he just sits and he puts his hand on my shoulder, and he goes, and he tells him, his son and his grandson, he goes, this guy is a fighter before he picked up a stick, and that is why he wins. And I'm like, so nice about me, like and what's great, just it's a little side note, he's coming to the States in 2023, and I'm trying to bring him to the East Coast. So like May, June of 2023, like he's not been to the East Coast as far as I know. So we're trying to get him. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get him in Queens, and I want to get him somewhere else so he stays at my house for 2 weeks, and we just listen, man.
Let's do it.
I would love to get him up here.
Eat some seafood and drink some beers with this Filipino guy, because he sounds like a character, man. And the fact that so one thing I wanted to ask you, because you talked about when you visited his neighborhood, did you feel any sort of menace or lack of safety when you were in those neighborhoods, or did you feel like the people there have actually I don't want to put any kind of
no, I know exactly what you're saying,
but Did you feel unsafe, or did you feel like it was like cool and people just kind of looking at you? Did you feel weird? Did you feel like I'm a tourist in this area that's I should not be?
You know, my first trip to the Philippines, maybe, but having been to the Philippines and kind of understood the culture, let me tell you something. One of the first things I did before I went to the Philippines on a vacation is I read Clint Emerson's Escape the Wolf book. And it's basically about how to conduct yourself and kind of fly under the radar. Like when I'm in the Philippines, I eat like a Filipino. I use my fork, I use my spoon, and I use my fork. I don't eat like a Westerner. Like I do as much as I can to kind of like, I already stand out. I'm this big white guy who bops around like he's a rap video.
There's no fooling them.
No, but if you like when you meet like one of the elders, you take their hand, you bring it to their forehead. Like you do little things like that, and it kind of just takes that you standing out thing off a little bit. I had I would say that, and having lived in Hunts Point for about 2 years, where I have to watch TV laying on the floor because of bullet. Like here's the thing, like I love about FMA is like certain people in certain systems look at me a certain way and they see this white guy and they think like I'm this like suburban dude, and I'm not like a thug, me, but like I lived in Hunts Point, man, and that was no joke. Like it was like being in prison. Like that was me being on guard. Like I had to treat it like it was in prison. Somebody looked at me, I had to hit him in the mouth because otherwise the neighborhood would have thought I was weak and I would have got my car robbed. I would have been robbed. I would have had people messing with me. Like I had to treat it like being in prison, And funny side story, there's this dude, Debo. He looked like Debo from the movie. He would just beat and rob people like for no reason. Like he'd hang out with you, go to your house, and then all of a sudden he'd just beat the shit out of you and rob you. I'm going to work one morning, like 6 a.m. He's walking down the street. So I'm going to work. He's just getting home and he's ice mugging me. Big dude. I just looked at him like, yo, if you're going to kick my ass, yo, just get it over with. And I think he just kind of saw my willingness to just be like, fuck you, hit me and get it done with. And he was like, kept walking. So I was like, all right. So having lived in that environment, I think I conducted myself in a way where I wasn't a tourist, like gawking. Like I sent you a picture of one of the streets I drove by where it was just basically demolished buildings.
Yeah.
And, there are some streets that aren't on the map because people just knocked down the buildings and said, I need a street here. Like it's, and it's not that it's impoverished. It's just not what we're used to in America. You know what I mean? So if you sit and you gawk at it like, oh my God, and this and that, and oh, these poor, and you look at them versus like, yo, these are some hardworking people. I don't want to step on their toes. I'm just going to go where I need to go. I was also walking with Grandmaster Elizar. So, I mean, that added that extra amount of safety. Like he walked like he owned the neighborhood and people moved out the way like he did. I believe he was a barangay captain, which is basically like an auxiliary police force. I don't know the whole veracity of this statement, so please don't call me out on it, but this is what I had heard, was that he basically was trying to stop a guy from a crime, and the dude pulled a gun, and like the story is he got hit in the face, and that didn't stop Grandmaster Elizar from putting the whooping on him. Like I've trained with guys like, dude, right? And we're not like but like, you've met guys who have like basically snuffed somebody out, turned the lights out, and here they are. Mm-hmm. Their eyes are different, right? Like you look at my eyes,
feel it.
Yeah, I'm a goofball. I didn't take anybody's life. All right, sorry. So that's why you never see me, coming across like, oh, King Badass, But I've met some Eskrima instructors who this guy has put somebody down for good and they're okay with it. Like there's just a different look in their eyes. And I'm not saying Grandmaster Elizar killed anybody at all. I would not say that. But this is a guy who has thrown down and put his work to the his system to the test. Like he's no joke with that. Like you're dealing with a real dude, man. You know what I mean? And that's what I vibed off him. Like, even when he talked about disarms, he goes, no, no. Boom, break hand. There you go. Then you take the weapon, make him pay. His disarms were so like smooth, like it really technically there'd be 5 steps, but in the execution, there's just one movement of like boom, like that.
Right.
And he had such an amazing understanding of the physiology of the wrist and the hands and how they operated. And then one of the things he did was he's like, okay, I do this. He goes, what do you do? And I'm like, no. He goes, no. What? I'm like, no, I know where this is going. This is going to wind up with me on the floor in a friggin' pretzel lock. And he's like, no. So he has a means of almost selling a disarm for you to make a counter move so he can really put it on you. You know, like there's some like real like fast bait and switch going on with him, man.
Yeah.
It was, dude, like
that's impressive.
Yeah.
Those are the guys, man, that like, for me, the way that I play and my fighting style, the person who I really feel as if I've missed out on is Sonny Umpad.
Oh yeah.
Getting to train with Maya. Season 1. You haven't seen Maya?
Yep.
Watch it. She's fucking amazing. But that long range, just make them miss shit. That's so important to me because it's a guy who made it work.
Yeah.
So the guys that make the other stuff work, it's all real. It's hard to explain to people, especially when somebody runs into me or somebody that fights the way that I fight, and they can't get past that outer range, and if they do, they have problems. Explaining to them like, no, everything inside this range isn't invalid. You just got to figure out how to get past. I just decided to start hitting when you're over there.
Yeah.
And for you to get to me, well, I'm going to be here, or I'm going to be here, or I'm going to, do whatever. So I have a specific kind of set that I like to follow when it comes to that. And as far as I'm concerned, when it closes beyond, hand range and head range, well, now I'm grappling and I'm doing inside stuff and things like that. So I don't consider so much of that disarm range.
Yeah.
I don't do that. I'll do that. My disarms come from a different place. But when I ran into Sonny Mayo and I started saying, I was like, oh, disarm range is a thing. If, I'm not going to say Sonny was wearing a fucking helmet, Sonny, but, if you can not get your brain scrambled, which there's ways to do that too. And kind of screw with him. He was doing a good job.
Yeah.
That was one
No,
of the
he's
first
amazing
times
with
I
his
saw
disarms.
that was one of the first times I saw someone disarming with authority, where I was like, oh, you can do that. You know what I mean? But like you said, it's taking those 5 steps. When you teach someone to do a disarm, it's like, apply pressure against the thumb and then rip it, whatever. Yeah, that's not how he does it. It's now your stick is my stick. Now I have 2 sticks. You have no sticks.
Yeah.
And you're in deep shit. And that's the kind of thing that when you see a guy with that fluidity, you go, oh, that's a guy that could do it with the sword. And that's where it really gets crazy. Because, for the game that I play and Defender Dog and these guys that you're talking about, we play a power game. And I do still put us up against you. You give me your best weak half guy, I will throw up, Lonely Dog or whatever, and everybody gets a machete. I still got money on us. But at the same time, like, both sides of this coin are very valuable. And, the zeal of the convert, man, for a decade, I've been shitting in the mouth of weak half style stuff. I've just been like, this is stupid. You are dressing like the Michelin Man, and you are just playing patty cake on each other as fast as you can, and then subjectively, some judge says this guy won. But getting to watch your journey in this, and this is part of why I wanted you to talk about it, is that there's not a lack of value in doing that. Okay, maybe honestly though, like play the game part of it is also a two-sided coin. Like play the game, okay, so I'm gonna see who can like the most times, or play the game, adapt to the situation. What's the situation? Does your art work right now? What's the situation? Where context? All these things are extremely important. Contextually, all right, well, are we in the Philippines? It's hot as balls right now. I'm wearing a tank top and mesh basketball shorts. If you've got this, slashing is going to do something to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do I have a pair of jeans, boots, a hoodie with 2 t-shirts on underneath? Well, now we've got to switch to point driven, because these slashes aren't going to do anything in an important place. But also, there's some techniques that work no matter what. Boom, stab him in his eye. I don't care what the fuck you got on. Maybe you got, unless you got safety goggles on, boom, stab you in your eye. Well, that's the end of that fight. So it's all contextual, and it's all about taking your style and molding it to the context. And that, brings us right back to the beginning. That's what impressed me about you when we met. And it's part of why I am pretty sure we're friends now, is that you didn't hit that zeal of the convert moment of like, everything I've done is a lie, and I'm gonna throw it on the floor, and I'm gonna just do this new thing. But then you didn't do the opposite of, this new thing is bullshit. These guys are playing by a different rule set, so it's not valid. You took the totality of what you were running into, and you've continued with it. And that's something that I don't think a lot of people, I don't know if I have the humility, or maybe now, I don't know. My journey is a fucking tumultuous sea. It's not done, and it's got some speed bumps coming up. So we'll see what happens. But to watch that has been really impressive to me, and it's something that I feel really grateful that you even consider me to be a part of, because the other people that you're talking about are legit as far as anybody that knows about Filipino martial arts is concerned. When you're throwing out these names of Filipino masters and grandmasters, and guys like Jeff Finder, and guys like Defender Dog, just to be considered in the same company as them is like absurdly complimentary to me. And people that don't know me might then put me in the same league. Nah, he's talking about way better people than me, man. I just, I'm a miscreant with a stick who has a free YouTube channel.
No, man,
not,
you can't say that, because somebody said to me, they're like, you got a Serrata engine with Dog Brothers gasoline, and I was like, you think about, like, if you watch the fight, I played the WECAF game, but I wasn't WECAF fighting 100%. You know what I mean? And that's where, like, I give the respect to you guys on my journey, because even WECAF aside, and like, actually one of the things that's really, as far as I know, and this is a bit of contention, all right, and I'm just going to say this now, you might get some, actually, let me say this now. For those of you who may not like me, do yourself a favor. Do not troll Foxhound. Just save yourself a world of headache. And, you could troll me all you want, like, just don't do it.
Troll me.
Good luck. Good luck. But I'm the first guy in Serrata to take the world title out of any of the things, from what I understand. Though, I mean, magically, there are other claims being made that nobody else has any proof of, or has heard of. At least the people I know, they're like, I've never heard of it. You're the first, and that's cool, because, like, I did it for my mom, I did it for my system, Cabale Serrata Eskrima. It was so great to call Grandmaster Vincent, and tell him, hey, we got a world medal, man. But I did it for the people that I fight with. And like I said, man, you have always been instrumental in helping me reach a plateau, and Defender Dog pushing me to that moment, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for having like guys like you introduce me to that, because I played the game, but I changed the board. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, you're going to play tippy tap, but I'm going to fucking run you out of the ring. Oh, you're going to try to hold me, but I'm really comfortable here and you hit like a bitch, and it's just like, if I had been a straight WECAF fighter, would I have been able to handle a guy clinching me? But the fact that having fought in Dog Brothers fighting and been in clinches where I was like, oh, okay, we're clinching now. Okay, fine. Let's play this game. Mm-hmm. Gave me a different mindset and perspective to fight, but then again, I had, the Mayo team reminding me like, Nick, remember what you're fighting, how they're scoring you, so to be able to take those worlds and kind of create this bastardized monster, and and I appreciate that, because I know you have, you've been critical of the WECAF, but I'm glad that in some ways you're starting to see the merit. Like I found it, there was a lot of talk on the FMA forums and stuff like that, just as the WECAF tournament was taking off, about, are there benefits to it? And I think if you train for those massive amounts of hits and you get your stamina up, but then you combine that with what you need for like Dog Brothers fighting, what kind of fighter are you going to be? My first open, the biggest compliment, the two big compliments was when Catch Dog asked to fight me with my Serrata stick. That was just, that was just a tip of the hat there. I was like, fine. But when
he was just looking for an excuse to hit somebody.
That's okay, man. You know what? He lured me in. But when I was online and they're like, I heard somebody go, yo, that guy from New York is fighting again. Because I took like 8 or 9 fights that day, like just boom, 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 and I think, having that stamina, like just kind of part of my DNA already to kind of do that, I mean, I'm 46 now. I don't know how much longer it's going to last like that, but I think there is something to be said to just, like, I went in knowing I'm just going to go right-handed. Like, I was like, I'm not going to waste time switching the stick and chance to disarm and then get hit. And to just be able to like hit that tire nonstop. I think my longest I went where like I just couldn't do it because my shoulder was like 5.5 minutes. And I mean like relentless. And they just be like, but no, you got to keep hitting, go, boom, change your shot, do this, blah, 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 there's something that I think is a value in that, that I think could apply to that. Like you're not going to have a goat fight like that in the, like, two guys hitting each other. Well, somebody's losing consciousness, you know what I mean? Or somebody's breaking something. Right. But to be the guy who comes in and who can just relentlessly just keep hitting and putting the other guy on defense, or just to get them to back off like that, I think there might be something there. There might be,
Hell yeah. There's definitely something there, man. That's there's value. It's, the farther I get in my martial arts journey, the more value I see in every style, except that Detroit Dust guy. Fuck that guy. But everybody else, fuck you, Dusty. Everybody else, there's something there, and some of it's context, some of it's very specific. This might be one small bit of technique that you're gleaning from this, but it could all be part of your martial arts journey.
Yeah.
But anyway, man, that's I really appreciate you giving us a little bit of a taste of your journey. After obviously I was talking to you through the whole thing, and
yeah,
I knew what was going on, but as it wound down, I was like, I really want Nick to come on and talk about this whole thing, because of the various steps, the things that happen with your mom, the
Mhm.
decision to travel, and then the time that you were in the Philippines, a little bit, you the week before the fights, basically, where you were training with Elazar, where you were going out into the neighborhoods, where you were dealing with getting a little bit sick. All that stuff is really, all that stuff is really something that not everybody gets a chance to do something like that.
No,
Not
man.
everybody that's a martial artist gets to, you don't want to seek validation of your art, but you really want to seek validation of your art. And
Yeah.
for people outside of something like jujitsu, where you can compete relatively consequence free, it's not only a young male ritual hierarchical combat situation, which, not for nothing, but when you're in empty hands, man, like, I've got that kickboxing fight coming up and things.
Yeah.
I'm fucking 38, dude. Like, how many concussions am I willing to absorb outside of Dog Brothers? Because inside Dog Brothers, it's infinite. I will let you hit me until I'm drooling. But like, when it comes to the actual, hierarchical type of combat, like, how much of that are you willing to absorb? And because of the prevalence of it, how much do you have to go through before you can travel somewhere other than your home to do it?
Yeah.
When it comes to things like Filipino martial arts, well, there's just not the same. It's not the same. For a variety of different reasons, I actually think armed combat is a little bit tougher to get good at. It's just there's a smaller pool of people that are willing to try.
Yeah.
If that makes
People freak
sense.
out. No, there's people who
It's
like
much
look at
harder.
weapons. Ah.
Oh yeah. Oh god damn. Like, so, at the places I've trained, the biggest pool is jujitsu. Because nobody's
Wait.
getting hit. Nobody's getting hit. No one's getting punched in the face. Oh, I'm tough, I do jujitsu. Well, no, I mean, there's tough guys that do jujitsu, but most of you are doing it because you're not getting hit. Don't fucking lie. But then comes, for me, jujitsu to Muay Thai. Then you get Muay Thai, where most of these people are happy to do Muay Thai, but when weapons become involved, they go, oh no, that's not cool. And so, then once you get into weapons, it's, oh, I got my jacket, I got my helmet, we hit with sticks now. And then when I'm like, nah, man, fuck that shit, let's put on some little ass gloves and a cup and a fencing mask, they're like, could I wear elbow pads? Yeah, you can wear elbow pads, don't worry about it, it's not gonna help you.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a definite thing, and when it comes to weapons, that's the stuff that I consider to be the smallest pool, because there's the fewest people that want anything to do with it, because the consequence exists. Once we get into, all right, man, we're not wearing anything. I got some gloves on, maybe. I got a fencing mask so I don't shatter my eye sockets, my teeth, that kind of stuff. But I don't wear gloves that don't allow for this. If your gloves prevent your hands from getting shattered, if you take a hard hit, you got too much glove on.
Yeah.
You got too much glove on. Your gloves should prevent the fencing mask cheese grater effect. If you got more than that, you got too much glove on. But that's all different martial arts philosophy, man. And that's all part of the game. We all have a different take on it. It's all valid. Everybody's, it's once the politics come into it, right? It's once you get into that, who's shitting on who, okay, well, now we can play that game. I'm not going to go out of my way to say Aikido's lame.
No.
But
well, even
at
within
the
your
same
own
time,
system.
I've been wrist locked shitless. I know a guy around here, this guy Ryan Muller. Man, he's a black belt in Aikido. And I was like, this is
Hold on a second. The moment has arrived. Hold on. What's up, Dad? Still doing the podcast. Still doing the podcast. I'll take that inside in a minute.
You got a lot of stuff there. I didn't know you had stuff on top of the stove.
Yeah, no, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it, Pop. All right.
But
Still recording. I'll come in later. I told you the moment was gonna arrive.
Dad, we're doing a podcast. Fuck.
God damn it, Dad. How can I rule the internet with my martial arts?
Honestly, man, that was everything I hoped for. That was wonderful.
I got yelled at for leaving stuff on the stove.
You did. By your old New York dad who moved to fucking Florida. I don't know how much better. You know what? I say we close out with that. I think that's the end of this fucking podcast. Because Dad needs you to take some shit off the stove.
I gotta take the garbage out. Forget being the undefeated world champion. I gotta go take out the trash.
That's next. Yeah. Okay, world champ. That trash ain't taking itself out. Watch out for the fucking alligators, though.
Yeah, right. Oh my God. You know, I knew it. I even told him, I was like, yo, Dad, I'm gonna do a podcast to this. He would have kept knocking through the next hour and a half.
I tell you, you brought it up and I was waiting for it, but that didn't disappoint. Well,
no.
We're gonna I want senior Mr. Merchant to have his stove cleared off. So we're gonna call this one right here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for sitting through this. I hope you heard some shit that, you know, inspires you to take on whatever next step in your martial arts journey is important to you, because that's what this is all about. You got to do that. There's no sense in just sitting back and playing patty cake and never knowing.
No, man.
You know
I had the experience of a lifetime, dude. Like even though I never thought I would say it, like it was through WeCap, like it was like fairy tale. Like I'll be 80 years old and look back at this and be like, fuck yeah. Telling my son to get his garbage off the thing.
Well, fucking A. Where can they find you?
You can check me out on Instagram, Kabale Sarita, Kabale Sarita. Sarada is screaming New York. I can't even speak. Happens you get yelled at by your pop at 46. Go to YouTube and just look up Nick Merchant WeCap. You can find my channel there. It's that Kaiju Self Defense Fitness. That was my initial umbrella company. And that's about it, man. You can find me teaching in Scarsdale in the Bronx, and hopefully I'll be out there in Cali, man, and Montreal coming up too. That's still a possibility. So
hell yeah. I'll be in Cali. Montreal ain't happening for me, but that's the way it goes.
And I'm kind of excited, man.
When you have to show the papers at the border.
I'm kind of excited, man. There might be another Serrata guy coming to the Open in Cali, man. So
yeah, I'm bringing a guy too. So
yeah, so I'm hoping he comes through, man. So, you know, that's great stuff, man. But I want to thank you, man, as always, not just for the love, support, guidance, but even, you know, just thinking enough of me to be on this, man, because you got some high level dudes on here, and I'm just a guy from New York. You know?
Fucking A, man.
I like pizza. Hey.
I like pizza. Hey. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in.
I got a white Guinea t-shirt. Wear it later.
Wow. This is Foxhound and the Marvelous Nick Merchant signing off.
Hey.
I don't know. Hold on. I don't know how to end the record. There we go. Stop.